Have you ever felt like the joy in your life is slowly slipping away, but you can't quite put your finger on why? For many seniors, depression hides behind silence and fatigue, often mistaken for just getting older. But it's more than that, and recognizing the signs could be the first step toward reclaiming your happiness. Let me share my story and what helped me find hope again. I used to wake up early, the sun just peeking over the horizon, feeling excited for the day ahead. I'd start with a cup of coffee, fresh from the pot, and then step outside into the garden. It was my sanctuary, my place of peace. The roses were blooming, and I'd spend hours among them, trimming, planting, and letting the world fall away. Life was busy, but it was full. But now, every morning feels the same, empty. I wake up later than I used to, the days blending into one another. The silence in the house is deafening. I can barely bring myself to go outside anymore. Even the idea of watering the garden feels like too much. I don't care. Sometimes, I don't even want to get out of bed at all. It wasn't always like this, of course. I had a family, a husband, Jack, who was my partner for over 40 years. We raised 2 children together. I had friends, a life full of laughter and little moments of joy. But in the past few years, things have changed. Jack passed away last year. It was a long, hard battle with cancer. I still feel his absence, like a hole in my heart that nothing can fill. My children, well, they've grown up and moved on. Claire, my daughter, calls sometimes, but I can tell she's busy. They all are. And I'm left here in this house, with my memories and nothing else. I'm not sure when it started. At first, I thought it was just grief. Losing Jack, being alone, it's a hard thing to adjust to. But then, I noticed that I was feeling more and more disconnected. It wasn't just the sadness anymore. It was the apathy. I didn't feel anything. Not really. I stopped enjoying the things I once loved. It was easier to just stay inside, in the quiet. It's hard to explain to people who don't experience it, but it's like life just stopped being important. It's not like I wanted to feel this way. I didn't choose it. It just crept up on me, little by little. The days started to stretch longer. I stopped calling my friends. I didn't have the energy to make plans or even leave the house. I began to feel tired all the time, but not the kind of tired that sleep could fix. No, this was different. It felt like my body was exhausted in a way I couldn't explain. And then came the guilt. I felt guilty for not being better. I felt guilty that I didn't want to go to the family dinner or church, even though I knew I should. The thought of putting on my best face and pretending everything was fine seemed impossible. And when I didn't, I feared that my children, my friends, would start thinking I was too much of a burden. I didn't want to tell anyone about what I was feeling. I didn't even know how to talk about it. How could I explain the emptiness I felt inside? How could I tell them that I was no longer sure of who I was, or what my purpose was? But then one day, Claire called me. It was a typical phone call. She was checking in, making sure I was doing okay. But this time, she said something different. "Mom, I'm worried about you," she said. "You've been isolating yourself. You're not getting out of the house anymore, and I can hear it in your voice. You sound so sad. You need to talk to someone, to get help. Please." At first, I got defensive. "I'm fine, Claire," I said. "I just need some time to adjust. I'll be okay." But I wasn't okay, and I knew it. Deep down, I knew it. I could hear it in my voice when I spoke to her. The tiredness, the sadness, the lack of enthusiasm. It wasn't just grief anymore. It was something else, something darker. It was depression. I don't know why it took me so long to admit it. Maybe it was because I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to believe that this was my life now. But the truth is, depression in seniors isn't something you can ignore forever. It's not just about feeling down for a few days. It's a heavy weight that settles into your bones, slowly stealing the joy from your life until everything feels dull and distant. So, I decided to make an appointment. I called Dr. Walker, a therapist I had seen a few times after Jack passed. I'd been hesitant before, unsure if it would help, but now I knew I had to try. I couldn't keep living like this. I was nervous when I walked into her office that day, but as I sat down across from her, I realized something important. I wasn't alone. I didn't have to carry this burden by myself. Dr. Walker listened carefully as I spoke, asking questions and gently guiding me through my feelings. She didn't judge me or make me feel weak. Instead, she helped me understand that what I was experiencing was common in older adults. Depression in seniors can be triggered by many things, she explained. Loss, isolation, health problems, or even the feeling that life is slowing down. But the good news is that depression can be treated, and you don't have to face it alone. Hearing those words was a relief. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that. Depression wasn't my fault. It was something I could fight back against. I wasn't stuck in this feeling forever. Dr. Walker gave me a few strategies to try. One was to reintroduce small activities into my routine, things I once enjoyed, even if they didn't seem exciting at the moment. I started with my garden again. At first, it felt like a chore, but slowly, I started to feel the warmth of the sun again on my face. It didn't fix everything, but it was a step. Another thing Dr. Walker suggested was to reach out to others. I hadn't realized how isolated I'd become. The loneliness had settled in so quietly that I didn't even notice it. But reconnecting with old friends, even just over the phone, helped me feel a little more grounded. And most importantly, she reminded me that it was okay to ask for help, that I didn't have to face everything on my own. After I left Dr. Walker's office that day, I felt a bit lighter. Not cured, but like someone had finally acknowledged the weight I had been carrying. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start. The first thing I decided to do was make a commitment to myself. I was going to try and stick to some routine, even if it was small. I'd always believed in structure. Jack and I used to have a regular rhythm to our days, and I realized I needed that back. So, the next morning, I got up a little earlier. Instead of staying in bed all morning, I took a walk around the block. It wasn't far, and it wasn't fast, but it was something. I wasn't running a marathon, but I was moving. That felt good. I also started to take better care of myself. I had neglected my health for too long. It's easy to forget how important things like eating well, staying active, and getting enough sleep really are. I remembered that I'd always felt better when I ate a balanced meal, so I started cooking again. It wasn't anything extravagant, just simple meals like salads or vegetable stews. But it gave me something to look forward to. And I started going to bed earlier, something I had stopped doing since Jack passed away. Sleep has always been a battle for me, but with the help of Dr. Walker, I learned that my lack of sleep was exacerbating my depression. I made my bedroom a sanctuary, a calm place where I could relax before turning in for the night. I stopped watching TV late at night and instead read a book or listened to calming music. Slowly, my sleep began to improve. But it wasn't just the physical changes that helped me begin to feel better. I started doing something I hadn't done in a long time, reaching out to people. It was scary at first, to admit that I needed help, that I couldn't do this on my own. But the truth is, I wasn't the only one who had experienced loneliness or loss. I began calling friends I hadn't spoken to in years, inviting them to meet for coffee, or just talk on the phone. It felt awkward at first, like I was reintroducing myself to people I hadn't seen in too long. But they were understanding. They knew how hard things had been for me. Claire also helped. After our conversation on the phone, she kept calling more regularly. Sometimes she would come over for lunch, or we'd talk for hours about nothing in particular. But that connection made such a difference. It reminded me that I was still loved, that I still mattered. The isolation, I learned, was one of the biggest parts of my depression. It had crept in so slowly that I hadn't realized how much it was affecting me. Once I began reconnecting with the world, it started to change. It wasn't instant, and I still had my bad days. Days when the weight of everything seemed too much to bear. But the good days started to come more often. One of the most significant changes I made, thanks to Dr. Walker's guidance, was starting a small volunteer project. She suggested that I find something outside of myself, something that could give me a sense of purpose. At first, I wasn't sure where to start, but then I remembered a place I used to volunteer at when I was younger, the local women's shelter. I reached out to them and offered my help. They were more than happy to have me come in once a week to help with the food pantry and spend time with some of the elderly women there. That was when I realized something important. Helping others made me feel connected again. It reminded me that I still had something to offer. There was purpose in small acts of kindness, in giving my time and energy to those who needed it. As I began to heal, I started to think more about the warning signs of depression, especially in seniors, because I'd lived through them myself. I had heard about depression in older adults, but I didn't really understand it until I experienced it firsthand. So, I want to share what I've learned with you, in case you or someone you know might be going through something similar. Withdrawing from social activities. If you find yourself avoiding friends, family, or activities that once brought you joy, it could be a sign that something is wrong. I used to love going to church, meeting up with my friends, and volunteering at the shelter. But when depression took hold, I found myself isolating more and more. You don't have to go through it alone. Reach out, whether it's to a loved one, a neighbor, or a professional. Socializing is important, even if it feels difficult at first. Loss of interest in hobbies or interests. Another warning sign of depression is the loss of interest in things you used to enjoy. I stopped tending to my garden, something I had always found joy in. I didn't feel like reading or cooking. It was like everything I once cared about didn't matter anymore. If you're finding it hard to do the things that used to bring you peace, it might be time to ask for help. Fatigue and lack of energy. Depression doesn't always look like sadness. It often shows up as physical exhaustion. If you feel tired all the time, even when you've had a full night's rest, that's a big red flag. For me, I couldn't understand why I was so drained all the time, but it was the depression wearing me down. Changes in sleep patterns. Trouble sleeping, whether you're sleeping too much or too little, is another common sign of depression. I noticed that I was waking up multiple times in the night, unable to get a full night's rest. Sleep disturbances can make everything feel harder, so it's important to address them early on. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt. Feeling like you're no longer needed or like you've lost your sense of purpose is a huge part of depression, especially for older adults. When I started feeling like my life didn't matter anymore, I realized I was caught in a spiral of negative thoughts. Talking to someone, even just a close friend or family member, can help you reframe those thoughts. Physical ailments with no clear cause. Sometimes, depression can manifest physically. I experienced headaches, body aches, and a general sense of being unwell, but nothing my doctor could pinpoint. If you're feeling like something's off, but no physical cause can be found, depression might be the culprit. Now that I'm beginning to feel better, I want to share the things that help me overcome depression. It's not easy, but it is possible. Seek professional help. The first step, as I learned, is to talk to someone, a therapist, or counselor. They can help you understand what you're going through and offer tools to manage your emotions. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Stay active. Exercise doesn't just help your body. It helps your mind too. Even if it's just a short walk, getting outside and moving your body can make a big difference. I started with small steps, but the benefits were noticeable almost immediately. Maintain a routine. Depression thrives in chaos, so having a daily routine can help you feel more grounded. It's not about having every minute planned, but creating a sense of structure in your day that gives you something to look forward to. Reconnect with others. I found that when I started reaching out to people, whether it was friends, family, or even volunteering, I began to feel less isolated. Isolation feeds depression, and social connections are vital to mental health. Focus on small achievements. Celebrate the small victories. It could be something as simple as getting out of bed, taking a shower, or cooking a meal. Every little step counts, and recognizing your progress will help build momentum. Give yourself grace. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. Healing doesn't happen overnight, and there will be days when you feel like you're back at square one. But that's okay. It's all part of the journey. As I sit here now, sipping my tea and watching the sun set over the horizon, I feel a quiet sense of peace. I've learned that it's okay to ask for help, and that my worth isn't defined by my age, my health, or my past. Life may not be what it once was, but it doesn't have to be empty. There's still so much to experience, so much to give, and so much to be thankful for. I've come to realize that even in my later years, I still have the power to shape my own future. It's not too late to start over, and I'm not giving up just yet. Depression in our later years can feel overwhelming and isolating, but it doesn't have to define your story. If you or someone you love is struggling, remember, small steps and reaching out can lead to big changes. You are not alone, and help is available. If this video resonated with you, please hit the like button and share it with someone who might need to hear this. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you never miss tips on living a healthier, happier life as you age. And I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Let's support each other on this journey. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourself. You deserve it.